and brands around the world that use Sri Lankan solutions, platforms and technology goes on. Great technology is achieved through ingenuity. Sri Lanka has a lot of it and the world's coming to us for it. Sri Lankan IT firms create revolutionary IP products, impacting users across the globe. And our vibrant startup ecosystem generates innovations that are transforming a multitude of industries. Sri Lankan IT experts are all about fast turnaround times, agile working and value-added solutions. We pride ourselves on our ability to deliver high productivity, quality and ingenuity. Sri Lankan IT companies have been on the digital frontier for over 30 years, making us one of the world's favorite IT BPM destinations. The island's connected to the internet by 7 submarine cables, clocking ultra-high speed. On land, Tier 3 data centers, world-class connectivity speeds and region-leading network infrastructure give Sri Lanka a technological edge. We've got world-class local universities and the top international universities operating in Sri Lanka, producing some of the best IT talent in the world. 80,000 plus now and counting. Our IT professionals are our difference. They're adept at open source, obsessed with adding value to knowledge solutions and innovating everything. Sri Lankan IT experts are naturally tech-savvy, adaptable and vibrant. Sri Lankans are excellent communicators and collaborators, able to work across markets, and IT companies around the world want them. We've even won the Google Summer of Code 9 times in a row. Region-leading infrastructure and ICT literacy make Sri Lanka the preferred testbed for anyone wanting to enter large Asian markets. Sri Lanka's commercial laws, vibrant living environment, FTAs with neighbouring nations and high rankings on South Asian business-related indices places us in a unique position to host regional headquarters and captive operations. Being the home of over 140,000 professional accountants, Sri Lanka is also a preferred destination for the finance and accounting industry, offering high-end analytics and a broad spectrum of FAO services. Imagine a sincere service, top-of-the-line thinking and next-gen tech in a picturesque tropical island. Who said you can't mix work and pleasure? Sri Lanka's got it all. The experience, the people, the technology and the drive to become the world's next big IT and BPM hub. Sri Lanka's an island of creators, innovators and engineers, always thinking, how can we make something better? That's our difference. We're an island of ingenuity.
For over 20 years, we have created and inspired, enlightened and educated over 28,000 minds. We change the way you learn by redefining education. Education isn't simply books or learning. Education is an enlightening experience. It's working together to build something bigger than ourselves. For over 2 decades, we have inspired minds and lives as an institute that goes beyond providing education as just a qualification. Slit Knowledge University, challenging convention and redefining education.
Over to you, Dylan.
Rang, I'll wait a couple of minutes because I see some people are still in the waiting room. They are being admitted, right?
Yes, Dylan, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the first of our series of webinars organized by the Regional Development Forum of SLASCOM. SLASCOM is the National Chamber for IT and BPM industry in Sri Lanka. I'm Dilan Rajpaksha. I'm the Managing Director of White Lab Innovations Lab, and I'll be the moderator for today. And I will be talking to our eminent panel behalf of you. And I will post them questions, and I will also help you to ask them whatever the questions you have as we progress in the session. So let me quickly tell you about this webinar series. So we have lined up 12 sessions, and today is the first one where we'll be having a general discussion on where the industry is and what are the opportunities in the industry. And then from the second session onwards, we'll be talking more about the technical sessions. But this time, I'm like, some of you might have joined our sessions last year as well. This is the third time we are doing this webinar series. So specialty in this year is we have lined up our sessions in a way that where you can, if you participate in all these sessions, it's more like following a course where we'll be explaining you on all the different areas where you would need to brush up your knowledge when you are coming to the industry. So I highly recommend you to participate all these 12 sessions. I will tell you more details about what's coming up next. Towards the end of the session, I can explain you more details about this. And another specialty this time is we will be assessing your knowledge as well. There's an option where you can answer certain questions after each session. And with this assessment, you get the opportunity to be recognized. So that is another opportunity for you. So you will be recognized because there will be a panel of our industry experts will be checking your answers. So you will have the opportunity to get recognized. And also, maybe if you're lucky, you will win some gifts as well from certain sessions. So that's a very brief introduction about our webinar series. So let me welcome our sponsors. Without their help, this series is not possible for us. So our strategic sponsor is LSEG, London Stock Exchange Group, and our education partner is SLIT UD. With a flourishing history of over 22 years, SLIT is offering an array of programs in computing, business, engineering, QS, architecture, humanities and sciences, MSc, MBA, MPhil, and PhD. SLIT graduates are globally accepted in view of the high standards maintained. And I would also like to thank our knowledge partners for today, Dialogue, IFS, and Informate. So I told you that you can ask questions during the session. So there are two ways where you can ask questions. So I'm like the straightforward, simpler way is where you can always use the Zoom, the chat in the Zoom. And also I will give you a link to our Slido session. I will copy it into the chat right now. I hope you can see. So you can use that as well. Then it's easier because then all the questions will be lined up and then I can use them where appropriate as we go along in the session. So that's about the introduction. That's about the what we are going to do and what this series is all about. So let me introduce our eminent panel for you. To start with, we have Sandra De Souza. Sandra is the chairperson of SLASCOM. She's also the Group Chief Customer Officer of Dialogue, chairperson of the Digital Customer Experience Group for Asiata Berhad, and director of Dialogue Business Services. In addition, she volunteers her time as a founding board member of the Women's Chamber for Digital Sri Lanka. Her career in IT industry spans over 30 years as the longest tenured employee in the mobile telecommunication sector. Sandra is a visiting lecturer at the University of Colombo School of Computing for over a decade and is an avid global speaker who has represented Dialogue at over 200 global events. Welcome, Sandra.
Hi,
and
Dilan.
we have Ranil. Ranil Rajapaksha is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of IFS Sri Lanka. He has over 20 years of global exposure and hands-on experience in leading and managing distributed software development operations. Having joined IFS at its inception in Sri Lanka, he has played a pivotal role in the shaping and the expansion of the organization to what it is today. Ranil is also a past chairman of SLASCOM and has been closely involved with its capacity building and human resources development initiatives. Welcome, Ranil.
Thank you, Dilan. Happy to be here.
And we have Jehan Peripanayagam. Jehan is the CEO of Informate. Informate is a JKH company with over 25 years contributing to the growth of the industry. Jehan is a charismatic leader that has directed the vision of Informate. Jehan pioneered the concept of rural BPM Sri Lanka. He was a key figure in establishing the country's first rural BPO through Informate. His expertise in outsourcing, process improvement and automation have been crucial in driving our team forward. Driving that team forward. Jehan currently serves the industry as the vice chair of SLASCOM. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining this session despite your heavy schedule. So let's start our discussion. So the first thing which I want to discuss with the panel is, now as everyone knows, we are in an unprecedented transforming stage. Right now, where we are we at a COVID stage or are we at post-COVID? What's going to happen next? We never know, right? It could be that there could be another pandemic happening. Maybe another COVID variant is coming, or maybe something totally unknown could happen. But however, the world is gradually recovering from this COVID pandemic right now. Not even our country and the other countries are gradually recovering. But I should say that we are still not out of the danger. However, our industry have survived with all these difficulties. I should say not just survived, but IT and BPM industry in particular has thrived in this time. It's not just merely surviving, but I know some of our companies, like most of our companies, have grown during this period and was doing really well. So with these changes happening, I would like to discuss how we have survived. What is the secret behind this? How did we continue to do what we used to do, even with the limitation, like all the offices are closed, people are working remote. But with these challenges, how did we manage to keep up with the demand we are getting? And how did we come into this stage? Because I'm sure our participants, especially the university students who are part of this audience, they would really like to know how this is done, because especially they too can be ready for this. Because this is as I said, it's unprecedented time. This is not something any of us knew before. We all had to adapt to it. So I would like to share with them and tell them how we have done this, so they also can be ready when they join the industry, and they should, if there are any skills which they need to develop, they can be ready with these developed skills. So I would like to start with Ranil. So Ranil can explain us from IT software development and services perspective how this was done. Ranil, would you like to explain this?
Yes, Dilan. So good evening, everyone. So happy to be here. And so to answer your question on how we have survived through this, I think to start off, as you said, the software industry has been quite resilient, or I would say exceedingly resilient in the past pandemic period. And this has been due to several factors. So one is, of course, the inherent ability for the software industry to work remotely, because what happened was, during the pandemic, everything shut down. And it's a bit more relatively easier if you take the software industry for us to work remotely, because, if you have good connectivity, you have a good laptop and a good sort of set of collaborative tools, you could work remotely quite quickly. And so that overhead is less. So I think what happened in the industry was that we could deploy our teams and our staff to work from home in a very quick manner. And also, of course, together with that, I think our teams and the staff have been exceedingly sort of flexible and quick to adapt into working from a remote setup. So that is, I think, one part of the equation, how the industry has been resilient. And of course, on the other side, I think it is that during this period, we have seen that there has been a bigger or a greater demand for software and services, because most companies or many companies have been accelerating digital transformation during this period, because they are looking at how they can improve their infrastructure, their software, and all of that, so that they can better serve their customers during this pandemic time. So a lot of companies that were, maybe even companies that had gone into a lot of this infrastructure and software, sort of revised or revisited them and looked at further investments, and others who were more, using a more semi-manual process, very quickly moved into more automation and software. So this, of course, gave more opportunity for software companies actually to get more work, because you could sell more, and as a result, getting more projects as well. And so that resulted in a good pipeline of work for the software industry as well. So that's another thing. And then, of course, if you look at customer behaviors, if you take we provide software to our customers, and our customers are providing services to their customers. If you look at their customers, that behavior also changed, right? With the pandemic, with the lockdowns, everybody moved into a whole online paradigm, right? You buy everything online, you get, you have all these whole new delivery services and all of that. And then, of course, on a larger scale, the whole sort of logistics and supply chain game also changed, because, in the light of pandemic, how can we sort of be more efficient? So that also requires software. So I think a lot of these kind of things, just to give those three examples, sort of created a lot of demand for software and software services, which of course enabled IT companies to be resilient throughout this period. Together with the fact that, of course, the ability to work from home and work remotely fairly quickly without much disruption. I think those were the things that came in. I mean, if you take IFS, for example, we've added over 500 staff during the pandemic period. So it shows that we have been that companies are growing during this period. So that is on the resilient side of it. Yes.
Thank you, Ranin. So yes, to face this challenge, as Ranin said, when you are working from home, we need to have a very good internet connection. That's a key part of this. Laptop and the internet. If you have that, then we were able to continue with what we were doing in our offices. So when it comes to internet connection, Sandra would know how difficult that it was during that period, how the services, the telcos have done for us to give us uninterrupted connectivity. So Sandra, would you like to share with us how the telcos have managed to sustain during this period, and how they were able to continuously give this service as well?
Yes, I would. I think there's a background song playing. Can we mute the others?
I kindly request everyone to keep your mics muted.
All right.
Elan, can you please?
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
looking
It's okay now.
Sorry, Sandra, you're also muted. I think everyone got muted. Sandra, you're muted. Sandra, you're muted.
All right, I got muted as well. Sorry for
Yes,
that.
please.
So talking about the telcos, as you know, the telcos are the much needed people. It's almost, like you said, Dilan, data and all that is like oxygen, right? Nowadays, it seems like you can't figure out what's more important, whether it's the data and connectivity or your oxygen. So that being the case, I think the pressure on telcos, all of the telcos, was utmost. Next to, I think, the health care, sector, telcos felt the pressure the most, I believe. Certainly we did from a dialogue point of view. And when we talk about how we survived, at first it was very difficult because we ourselves needed to organize ourselves to work from home. And we managed to do that pretty quickly. I believe all the telcos did. Currently, myself as well as majority of nearly 80% of the staff at Dialogue are working from home for the last 1.5 years. And certainly we've not only survived, we've managed to thrive as well in this context. So I think survival relates to our defense mechanism in action, and it has always been, survival of the fittest, right? So when it relates to these things and when you're pushed against the wall, I think everybody learns how to survive. For us telcos, because we can't cater to the demands that came upon us almost overnight, particularly with the lockdowns, it has been very difficult, because for us to when your network capacities increase twofold or more, you can't do anything about it instantly. It takes time to be able to develop a network and to be able to build capacity, right? To us as an organization, I think the word was resilience. So resilience is a key word, I think, for anyone. I think when you talk about resilience and when you think about resilience, Sri Lankans have been an absolutely resilient nation. And luckily for us in our industry, ICT industry, IT industry, we can work from anywhere, because we're anywhere used to doing that. So whatever it is that we call this post-pandemic era, pandemic era, new normal, whatever they might be, in some way or the other, a lot of our IT and BPM companies have anyway been working remotely, given the fact that they work with their foreign customers, principals who are across the globe, different time zones. They've been doing this anyway, right? So as a result, I think it has been fairly easy for all of us to adapt. So I think one of the things that I would look at in terms of how we have transformed, few things have happened apart from just, work from home. Employees having to shift to online platforms almost overnight and adapting to this work culture, sitting in front of a screen all the time, has been like a huge strain. The network infrastructure, there has been a lot of strain on those as well. And in particular, because of the customer frustrations and them expressing these frustrations in various ways, for the telcos, it has been extremely challenging. But having said that, if you think about it, end of the day, for the last 1.5 years, Sri Lanka is working. Sri Lankans are connected, and the telcos have managed to make business as well as life, everyday life things happen, and keeping the country connected. So in that sense, I think, lot to be said about the telcos. Now, some of the things that have changed are like remote working has brought about increased security and infrastructure risks for customers, and more so for the telcos to manage these. So some of the elements of telecommunications work cannot really be duplicated remotely. And in some cases, it cannot be done at all. So those have actually brought about a lot of pressure, particularly when there are customers who have require some services and require the people to really come to their homes, come to their offices physically during the period of lockdown, to be able to put things right or set up new communication requirements that our customers have. So those are some of things that really has been a little difficult. If you look at from a cultural work culture standpoint during this crisis, I think the telcos, I can speak for Dialogue also, proactive data-driven crisis response has really shaped, I think, all of the stakeholder attitudes, and I think it's going to last far into the future. It's going to be the new norm. So we have had to be able to acknowledge crises, to kind of delineate COVID-19 response plans from the normal way in how we do work. We've had to appoint like a central team who are looking after specifically related to COVID protocols and the safety of our employees. We've had to sort of have people work in agile cross-functional teams to continue to manage this crisis because it's ever evolving. We thought it'll end soon, but that's not the way it was. It just keeps evolving, it just keeps going, and we really don't know for how long this will keep going. Now, for some of us, we have been able to get people across, not just in our country, across different regions, but regions across the world and across the globe as well, working together continually as a single team. So priority was given to taking steps to provide continually critical infrastructure to be able to build customer confidence really, and looking at cyber safe remote technology capabilities to also safely transition employees of our customers to work remotely, giving really our business customers, our enterprise customers, that kind of confidence that they were looking for. One of the other things I think particularly helpful, maybe from a dialogue point of view, was also this. What we started from dialogue was like this donation or scholarship program, 100,000 data scholarships to school children to be able to get them to continue their studies, and also of course keeping the universities connected so that all our undergraduates will not be having difficulty with their education. Very recently we also started online A-level and O-level kind of classes through Dialogue TV, and of course this national infrastructure building program, which is called Gamata Sangnivedana, is one in which all of the telcos have really committed to making sure that the country keeps connected. So these are actually, I would say, some of the ways in which the telcos have been able to really support, Dilan, the country, and to keep the country connected.
Thank you, Sandra. So I think the key is being innovative when you can't follow your usual procedures, when you can't go to the office or when you can't meet people, but still if you can come up with innovative ways, alternative ways, and somehow if you are creative enough to get the work done, I think that's where we are succeeding. So people who are able to do that, I'm sure have somehow succeeded even with all these difficulties. So Jehan, would you like to tell us from the BPM perspective how it was for you and how did you manage to overcome all these challenges?
Sure. Thank you very much, Dilan. So the BPM industry, or the business process management industry, is now being rebranded, just for everyone's information, as a global services industry. So it involves the provision of a variety of services, including accounting, HR, legal, technical help desk, call centers, marketing, lead generation, medical, and health related, using IT as a conduit. So you're handling outsourced work from so many different countries using the IT, and it's the provision of services. So the BPM industry, like software, had an excellent response. We had previously tested it during other emergencies like the Easter attacks, and it was already in place, and we had some staff, like Sandra mentioned, who were permanently teleworking. So we were familiar with the concept. We had tested it. Of course, to test it on a large scale so quickly when we had to suddenly move into home working was a challenge. But using the creativity that you mentioned and the innovative spirit of Sri Lankans, I think Sri Lankans, as Sandra said, very resilient. We are very creative, hugely capable people. We were able to swiftly move into the teleworking situation, and the industry response has been excellent. We had several customers, in fact, commenting that sometimes the deliverables or the service levels were even better than pre-pandemic, because people were working longer hours. Some of them start working at 6 o'clock and extended hours. So there was an excellent response. The clients have been very, very satisfied with the Sri Lankan BPM companies, how they responded. We have very good monitoring tools. So minute to minute, we can monitor each person's productivity, what they are doing. And we had to come up with some innovations. For instance, we had some physical documents, how these documents are going to move. And I think everyone was very flexible when banks moved into digital signing of checks and so forth. And we have DocuSign for signing off on agreements. So those sort of things happen very quickly, and business has been very seamless. Now, looking forward, the BPM industry is continuing to grow. Like the great example that Ranil shared, where he has recruited 500 people during the pandemic. The industry currently employs 25,000 people. And our goal is by 2025 to double our numbers to 50,000 people. So during these days, we are continuing to grow. New projects are continuing to come in. My company, Informate, we just got a new project from Australia. We are looking at hiring. And that is very much the case. If you look at one of our member companies in the health recon space, they have hired, I think, close to about 700, 800 people. So new clients, new projects are coming in, it is growing. And in order to adapt, for those wishing to join this industry, what you need to prepare yourself for is we need to get used to the new environment of online work. We need to get used to seeing people more like this today, rather than physical meeting. We need to be self-disciplined. Now, when we don't go to office, we must make sure we get up at a fixed time, that we get dressed, that we prepare well, that we are on time for our meetings, that we look after our physical and mental well-being. We need to keep learning. It's very nice to see so many people posting new certificates and things like that on LinkedIn. And also look at the long term, be flexible. If you want to join the BPM industry, there are different set of work rules. For instance, you might have shifts. Some people might have to work, you'll still work 5 days a week, but it might be on Wednesday to Sunday, right? So be flexible with requirements like that and continue to maintain professionalism throughout. I think that's very important because we are serving international clients. It's a Sri Lankan brand name that is on the line. So we need to be professional. We've generally had very good responses. We've had a few people who suddenly go missing and who say, today I'm stopping work. That's not professional, right? So we need to really be people who keep to our commitments. So I see a very exciting future for the BPM industry. Thank you.
Thanks, yeah. I think the lesson we have learned here is, like all of us in the industry, is that you can't wait till things get back to normal. We don't know, and probably there'll be no normal again. It's, as some people say, it's a new normal, right? So you need to always adapt to it. And luckily, our industry, we can easily adapt. So that's a good thing about it. And we can always, with the help of the technology, we can adapt to it. So the lesson for our audience mainly here is adapting to the changes. If you, rather than being rigid and just waiting until things are back to normal, will not help you. So what you need is understand what's currently happening and change based on the changes. Change yourself without waiting for it. And also, if I'm to share my experience, what we have learned is people need to be more independent in a situation like this. Not just in what you do, but you need to have a little bit of overall all-round knowledge. Now, a very good example is if you are in the office, if your machine is not working or if it is stuck or whatever, you quickly call your IT and they come and help you. But when you're at home, there's no one to help you. You have to do it yourself. Maybe you have to reinstall the operating system, maybe install application, whatever, those little troubleshooting, you have to do by yourself. So this is where your skills help, where if you can come out of your silos and if you can step to another person's role and do it, that would definitely help you. So thank you very much for sharing how we have able to manage despite all these challenges we had. So moving into our next area. So as everyone knows, this industry is quite dynamic. The technology changes rapidly, and also the needs and the demands of the customers, users is changing always. Even we as customers, we are also customers of certain systems, right? We also change our needs, and especially in a situation like this, there's a huge need for online systems. Online, like one example is online purchasing. But despite pandemic, whether pandemic is there or not, but still with the evolvement of the industry, we see that certain new sectors or certain new areas are popping up. Like one example is maybe the security. With more people coming into the internet, more people using the online systems, security has become a major threat. I'm sure all of you have seen, like even recently, like some of the big YouTube channels are being hacked, some of our websites being hacked in Sri Lankan context, but in globally, there are major issues, right? So security has become a vital aspect. So likewise, there are new areas emerging. And with that, the good thing is, we as the industry, we are also getting more opportunities, more job opportunities, more job categories are being created. So I would like to share, I want our panel to share with our audience what these opportunities are, because right now some of us just think of being a developer or QA engineer. These are the common, more known areas. But apart from that, it's good. I'm like, we need developers and quality assurance engineers. But apart from that, there are so many other different areas where we can start working on. So I would like to discuss on this. So I would like to start with Sandra. Sandra, can you explain in the telco sector, what are the opportunities from the software development perspective, from the, like for a typical software engineering graduate, what are the opportunities available in the telco sector?
So thanks for that question, Dilan. I think it's a really pertinent question. Everything is ever changing, and it just seems that the knowledge you have needs to be continuously updated. So in the telco sector, for all our employees, we talk about how they need to continuously keep updating their knowledge and their skills. So it's being able to be cross functional in terms of the work you do. So you shouldn't stick to a silo, because now in this environment, you're working in more agile teams and you're working in cross-functional teams. So with that, your skill set has to sort of enhance. Particularly the data science function has become extremely important, and also hard to find, I must say. So there's a huge market or demand for data scientists. There's also information security analysts that have come up, given the role of cyber security and information and data privacy and all of that plays a huge role. I think there's also titles like artificial intelligence engineer, then cloud architects, because everything's going on the cloud now more than ever before, particularly for the telcos. Telcos are really moving into the cloud, and that's the trend now. Maintaining the hardware infrastructure the way we used to is very cumbersome. So there's a lot of I would say appetite or need for cloud architects. Then also we look for full stack developers, as opposed to in the past it was different and siloed. Then from a sort of a leadership perspective, chief digital officers is also relatively new, but now we look more for CDIOs. So it's not just the chief digital, but also the information. So in the telco, I would say industry regionally, CDIOs, chief digital information officers, then CTIO. So traditionally you have a CTO and a CIO, right? But now everyone's moving to CTIOs. And of course, one of the new titles is like chief data officers. So these are some of the categories that we see evolving in the telco area. Another thing is that everyone has to now be able to embrace soft skills. They have to be able to lead in the whole human part of it, right? The empathy, because end of the day, whether you're dealing with a team as leaders or you are dealing with customers at the other end, you still have to think a lot about this human aspect. So you have to think about your soft skills. As you know now, globally, everyone talks about customers experience, right? So it's all about customer experience management, and customer experience management looks at how you look at your people employee experience as well as your customers experience, and it is taking a view from their point of view, right? So in fact, even the platforms that the customers interact with, in our case also at Dialogue, we have about 15, 16 different channels. Most of them are social and digital channels. And then when you're thinking of apps and chatbots, things like that, you have to figure out how human they can be, and then design thinking and design developers and design thinkers, as well as people who are looking at customer journey management, right? Looking at customer effort in order to traverse through these journeys. People who are experts at not just channels, siloed channels, but omni-channel management, right? So these are some of the areas, in which there's a lot of lucrative opportunities within the telcos, I would say.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks for sharing that. So there are actually so many different, there are so many new avenues are being created, which when we were in the university, we didn't know about all these different areas, but now as the industry grows, so many new opportunities are being created. So I believe it's a good sign for the industry and good sign for the people who are planning to enter into the industry as well. So Ranil, would you like to share from your perspective what are the opportunities we are having right now with this expansion of the industry?
Yes, Dylan. So I think there are a lot of new jobs that have come in, and also we are seeing that there is a sort of reshaping of some of the traditional jobs as well. Now, I think Sandra briefly touched on it about full stack developers, for example. So we have, in the past, it's not been very specialized, like, you have Java developers, C# developers, and so on. But now I think the whole software engineer scope for the paradigm is also changing. So now more and more companies are going for full stack development, where we are looking at, if you just look at a little bit more technical, I mean, people who are familiar with the client frameworks like Angular, React, and Vue.js kind of frameworks. Then also, if you go more on the server side, .NET Core, Node.js, that kind of thing. Then also, of course, different databases on the database level like Oracle or SQL Server, or even sort of more non-SQL databases like MongoDB and so on. So now the industry is looking at sort of software engineers, right, who can go across all of these. So work across all of these layers. So as a full stack developer. So I think for those of you who are coming in or thinking of coming into the industry, or it's good to look at it from this perspective. So, looking at the full stack, working across all the layers, being familiar with these different frameworks, so that, that gives you a better opportunity to come into the industry and also to contribute to the industry better. And of course, together with that, there are some of the more mobile related frameworks as well, like, React Native and Flutter, things like that are coming up as well. So a lot of these are getting popular, and the traditional software engineer paradigm is also shifting. There is one area that's coming. Then, of course, I think, Dilan, you mentioned about security, for example. So that's a big area that's coming up. From threat monitoring to, architecting the whole systems around, how to avoid threats, and, how to set up software and systems to minimize threats and so on. So the whole cybersecurity, that side is becoming very important. So from monitoring networks to how you design software, to make sure that there are no security vulnerabilities and so on. So a lot of opportunities in the security engineering space as well that are coming in. So that's another new area. And the other area is, again, just to give example, is the whole user experience side of things. So this is not UI, but UX. So how you design software to create the best user experience for those who are using the software. So that whole user experience engineering and the user experience side of things is also becoming increasingly important. because now we are having a new generation of workforce coming into the industry. People who have been, playing computer games since they were, maybe 2 years or 3 years old. So that's the kind of people who are now using software systems. So they are looking at business systems and software to be like the games that they have been playing, more cool. You interact more naturally, not the dull, gray forms that we used to be there before. So all these stuff, then the collaboration things, all of that coming in. So the whole UX piece is also getting more important. So a lot of opportunities for the user experience side of things, user experience engineering. So that's another a new area that is coming in the industry. And then, of course, things like DevOps has been there for a while, but now we see that more and more companies are, adopting the whole DevOps process and the DevOps mindset. So, the whole continuous integration, continuous deployment kind of a mindset. So DevOps engineering is also becoming quite important. So from the development side or the dev part of it, so that how you the engineering part there that is required to structure and build your software so that you can deploy it in that fashion. And then of course actually the deployment. So the whole DevOps side is also coming in, and also together with that we are seeing now a new sort of thing coming in is the site reliability engineering, which is also coming in, which is sort of connected with DevOps, but that is more about engineering or engineers who will make sure that the systems that are deployed are kept running, without failure. So ensuring the uptime and, maintaining and running business critical systems. So that site reliability engineering is coming around that. So how do you make sure that systems are running like that? So that sort of that strategy, how you said, make sure that you minimize fail time or downtime and so on. So that whole part, then of course when there is a failure, how to react quickly, make sure it is fixed. So this site reliability engineering is another new area that is also coming up, and we see a lot of jobs opening up in that area as well. So those are just a few examples of what we have in the software engineering. Of course, then we have the more a lot of these are new sort of emerging areas. So the whole space around data science, AI, machine learning, and that part of it. So it's something that is still new in Sri Lanka, but we see that more and more opportunities are coming up here. And especially now we see with the pandemic and so on, with we are seeing that the kind of opportunities have increased in this space, especially because also some companies that were doing this kind of work maybe in the US or in Europe are also looking at shifting some of that work to Sri Lanka and countries like Sri Lanka. So we are seeing more opportunities coming in the AI, data science, that kind of space as well. And one last thing before closing off on opportunities is we are also seeing a resurgence in the quality engineering side as well, not the traditional quality side, but quality assurance engineering more in terms of the whole test automation, security, that side. So making sure that there is quality built into the software from the very beginning to ensure that the software is secure, and also to work a lot with also test automation and things like that. So that automation engineering side of quality is also coming up, and we see a lot of opportunities opening up in that area as well. So those are some of the sort of openings that we see right now, Dilan.
Thank you. Thanks, Ranil. Thanks for sharing your insights on the opportunities from the product and services development point of view. So I would like to ask Jihan to answer the same from the BPM point of view. What is there for the software engineers or that disciplines? Because sometimes people might just not even think of BPM companies as a potential workplace for them, because they don't know the opportunities available for them. They just think BPMs are not for us. But I'm sure there are so many opportunities for the software engineers and similar disciplines in the BPM industry as well. Would you like to share that, Jihan?
Sure, Dilan. So the BPM industry, as I discussed, is growing. And the companies involved include global giants like HDPL, WNS, Sarah Donnelly, Accenture, and also the homegrown ones like BPO Connect and all the conglomerates, John Keys, Aikens, Spence, Hades. So all of them are growing. And this industry is also called the IT-enabled industry. It is an industry that is fueled, that is enabled by IT. So IT is at the very heart of everything that we do. So each of our companies has a very strong IT team. So that includes the whole network engineering side, as well as increasingly now we are seeing a convergence. It's not just services provided standalone, it is services that are closely integrated with technology. So one of the biggest things that all the BPM companies are adopting is RPA, robotic process automation, or what is now called intelligent automation. That is the use of software bots to automate what a human would do. So typically, if you take a person doing a more predictable transaction-related work, which that person does in 8 hours, you can get a software bot that will work 24/7 and maybe finish it in a matter of minutes, freeing up the human to be able to spend more quality time on analytical services, more thinking. So there is a huge need for RPA resources, and this is not a technology that is very difficult. It is something that you can self-learn, at least in the initial part of it. There is free certification programs by bodies like UiPath. In a couple of weeks, you can get an initial certification and you can be a very productive employee. In fact, my organization is looking at RPA resources, and several others are also looking at it. Then we are looking at data science and analysts using technologies such as Power BI, Tableau, and how we can interpret data and tell a story to our clients so that they better understand. So previously we would do accounting work, which would be just accounts payable, receivable, but now we would go beyond, not only process those transactions, but explain to them what is happening with their costs, what is the forecast on those costs. And for those, we need new roles like data science and analysis. Some of the other BPO specific roles, I think, as both Sandra and Ranil mentioned, the security is becoming huge. So we have a chief information security officer, and some other new things are emerging, for instance, around process excellence. We are looking at technologies, or not technologies, but disciplines like Six Sigma, lean, process mapping, because that's a very, very important aspect of it. So you have roles like the chief process officer emerging. So it's not a new role, but increasingly companies are having chief process. A good friend of Sandra's previously had the title chief process officer. And I remember her being introduced by Adam Ali. So he introduced her as chief process officer. So that's becoming a very popular role. Then you have sustainability. Our industry is very keen to go green and to be a responsible service provider. So we are having key roles around sustainability and diversity. One thing I must mention about the IT BPM industry, and particularly the BPM industry, we have 49% female representation in our workforce, including in our leadership. So we have leaders like Sandra. HDPL is headed by a woman. We have Haley's BPO, the CEO is a woman. So it's a great place for female employees. So those are some of the new roles that are emerging. So in order to prepare yourself, and what you can do to fast track your entry into this industry is some very specific things that I would like to list. Right, you should be a master of desktop skills. I think a lot of you are much more familiar than we were, but still I think there is an ability to improve. Still, we find people struggling with, advanced Excel, things like macros. All those things are today things that you can learn at your own home. You don't need expensive trainings, and there is no excuse for not being master of those things. You need to have advanced Excel. Power BI is a fantastic tool that you can learn. Basic robotic process automation. Then even familiarize yourself with client management, good reporting skills. And finally, soft skills, the ability to present, English language skills, because we will be working with clients around the world. Ability to present effectively. So these are some areas that you can work on. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. By listening to all what three of you have said, it probably the sky is the limit. There are so many different opportunities. I think it's a matter of getting educated and being aware as well, because sometimes when you are studying, you might not see all these opportunities, but the key is see what is out there. Like start reading what is like internet. That's a huge resource. You can use it for this. Try to find out what these new job areas are, and also my advice is you can always go to these job websites. Yes, you might be not looking for a job right now, but if you go to these job websites, you can see what is being asked for, like what are the job opportunities, newer jobs coming up, what they are asking for, the job requirements, and then prepare a CV. Prepare the CV and see where you are and what you need. So if you can see the gap, and then you can start filling the gap. Maybe you might need to do extra courses. Then again, that also is available in the internet. Like there are so many online courses, free courses, or even some courses are very quite cheap. I'm like $5, $10. It's very nominal amount. You can learn things. So I believe, like if you are creative, again, the keyword is creative. Like if you are creative, if you know what is available out there, the opportunities are endless. So I'm sure the audience have got some ideas on what the opportunities available in all these three sectors: telco, software development, and as well as in the BPM sector. So there are a few questions I have received, but I would like to ask this one because several people have asked about the internship opportunities. So how is it, like, do we have internship opportunities right now? And someone has specifically asked what is the minimum requirements expected by interns for them to get opportunity as an intern. So Ranil, would you like to start with that very brief? I'm like as a company where you I'm sure you are also recruiting interns, but what do you exactly look for when you're recruiting interns?
Yes, so the internship opportunities are there. I think during the pandemic, probably they were slightly less than what it was before, but I think at the initial point, but then afterwards, once companies settled into the remote model, internship opportunities again picked up, and even we are doing internship opportunities. So I think the requirements are, again, it's basically what we are looking at is, so if I don't know who is asking the question, but if it is from one of the universities that is having internship programs, then it would be that you have completed your second year or third year, depending on when the internship program starts. And as a company, what we look at is, and I think generally all companies will look at a good understanding of what you have learned, in your first 2 years or 3 years in the university, where you have understood the concepts well, and you are in a position to actually apply those concepts, and willing to learn and pick up, coming to the industry and learn something new. So I think it's a very sort of basic sort of premise that companies look at there. And of course, you would need to, if it's in the software industry, you would need to be familiar with the software engineering concepts, and then also a programming language. It could be Java or C#. I mean, different companies might have different requirements. So I think those are what is looked at. So because since it's an internship, we are more looking at, as an industry, giving an opportunity to people rather than being very strict on the requirements. It's more about having the basic requirements and giving that opportunity to learn and get exposed to the industry. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, so there are so many opportunities are available. Unfortunately, as an intern, you will not get that experience of working in a real office. That experience is not there, but still, you must be still at home doing your 6-month internship. But still, it's a different experience. You get that working in a commercial environment, and how to work as a team. So all these things also you learn. So yeah, I'm like, because several people have asked, are there any internship opportunities? Yeah, so it is, yes. I'm like most of the industries, I'm sure Jehan and Sandra too would agree. There are opportunities, right? In all these sectors, opportunities are there. So if you present yourself well, there is an opportunity of getting these internships as well. So I have got a few more questions, but before that, let me quickly go through another round of questions. Um, now some people are a little bit skeptic on what is happening in the country. I'm like, it's different people are having different views, but I don't want to do an economic analysis of where we are right now, but where are we in terms of the IT industry? Are we in a good position or a bad position? Simply said, what is going to happen to us? Now, as we know, as I said earlier, the industry have thrived during the last year, but will it continue like this, or will the situation be changed with what's happening in Sri Lanka as well as what's happening in the global front? So Jehan, as a person who is I know very actively involved with the government organizations on policies and matters, you are very much in touch with the government organization. So would you like to share with us from what you have learned, what you have seen, where do you think we are heading? How will our future be bright or will it be dark?
Sure. So the industry is doing well. Currently, it is $1.5 billion in terms of export revenue earnings. We are looking at some of the estimates, possibly it is even more. It employs 115,000 people and it is growing exponentially, double-digit growth. So we very much expect by 2025 that we will achieve our stated industry goal that SLASCOM has, which is to be $5 billion. We're looking at tripling our export revenue earnings. So it was already the fourth largest export revenue earner. So particularly at this point, it's a key industry because, as you know, tourism and remittances are both impacted very unfortunately owing to the pandemic. So this industry has taken even more prominence. The government has been very supportive and even more so during this period of the pandemic. They're actively engaging with us, trying to understand how they can support the growth of this industry on multiple fronts. So the industry is tax-free. There are other moves to support our brand. We have a fantastic brand that all of you should be familiar with. It's called IOI, Island of Ingenuity. I encourage you to go and look up a little bit about the IOI brand because that is the brand of Sri Lanka's IT BPM industry. So the government is working with the industry to promote this industry globally. We are looking at some key international players, including some very big names that all of you know, to bring them down to Sri Lanka. So even from the highest in the land, they are having meetings, they are presenting to them. And we have some very big successors. For instance, HCL came down recently. They've just completed 1 year, which they themselves have said has been very successful. They've already reached 1,000 people. We have some other very big names in the pipeline, both for IT and for BPM. So in the coming months and years are going to be very exciting. There are going to be a lot of opportunities. So I really encourage all of you who are listening to this, that this is one industry that can really grow. And it's a sustainable industry because technology is here to stay. So it's an industry that's going to be needed all the time. And this industry, you can also see, is going up the value chain. So we are coming up with new areas, higher end services. If you speak on BPM side, we were more into the transaction oriented space and that will continue, but increasingly we will go up the value chain, analytics, legal, HRO, outsource, CFO, those type of higher end work will come in. Some of the other changes, again, that the government is very keen and industry is equally keen to take this across Sri Lanka. It's inclusive growth. It's not just in the Western province. It's all across Sri Lanka. You mentioned about rural BPM. So we started 3 units, one in Jaffna, one in Sinigama, one in Mahavilachia. We have other member companies like Orel IT, which has a fantastic operation in Kurnagala, also in Goa. You have BPO Connect in Kandy. So this is an industry that's going to spread all across Sri Lanka, and the government is looking at some IT parks, right, in different parts of the country. So that's going to provide fantastic workspaces if you do get a chance, go and look at some of the IT parks. Brilliant workspaces with gymnasiums. You've got everything there. You've got your laundry, you've got fantastic restaurants, so that you can really stay there and you can focus on your work. And it also provides a very quick career progression. So I would like to end with 3 quick stories. One is my own. So I've been in this industry for 16 years and I've never regretted a day of it. It's been very, very exciting. I was an accountant, right? And as accountants, we are back office people. We are boring people. We are not much seen, right? But this industry, what it has done is it has taken us back office people and taken us to client facing. Now we are front office people. We are doing presentations to clients. We are bringing in, doing presentations to clients to bring people into Sri Lanka. We are handling client presentations, winning business, managing P&Ls. It has become a very, very exciting role. I've had the opportunity to travel different parts of the world, meet some amazing people. If you talk of some of my staff, we have head of quality. He started as an apprentice or like an intern 10 years ago. Then he finished his internship in 3 years. Then he was promoted, then headed quality. He went to Australia, to one of the biggest companies in Australia, did the migration from there, brought the work back. Then he went to UK, very successfully managed the project. Today he's a manager. One more person who comes to mind, young guy called Prashant. He was an accounts clerk, right? Joined the BPO industry at the most junior position, promoted quickly in rapid succession. Today he's in SAP, in John Keels. He's heading the entire SAP service line, right? So it can really transform your career very quickly. So it's a very exciting industry that has a huge potential. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. It's very encouraging to hear these stories, and also from the government perspective, also IT industry is well recognized. So that's something which we all should be happy, because the government is trying to give whatever the help which is needed, and at the same time, I believe IT industry, for most of the job positions, it's when you have internet connection, when you have a computer, you can get things going. Like you don't need big factories as such. Like in other industries, you need to have more infrastructure. But for us, with very little infrastructure, we can continue with what we are doing. So thanks, Jan, for sharing this. So I would like to move to Ranil. Now, Ranil, you as part of IFS, you are working with so many other partners and customers from different countries. So from international perspective, where do you see where we are right now, and where do you think we should be position ourselves as the Sri Lankan IT and BPM industry? Where can we fit in with the rest of the world?
Yeah, so I think just to echo what Jehan said also, I mean, the industry is at a really good point right now. I mean, it's a very exciting time for the industry. And so looking forward, I think the prospects are bright, because especially if you look at the current situation as well, when it comes to the sort of pandemic and the new normal, if we may call it. Now, a lot of these barriers have been broken down about, where you can have your development, where you can have your development teams and so on. So countries that were traditionally having development in one place or maybe one or two places now are more looking at, okay, can we have teams set up in other parts of the world as well, where we have good talent. So I think one really good thing that we have here is a fantastic talent pipeline. I mean, that's something that really we have a very good advantage of. And so looking at that, I mean, from an international perspective, I think Sri Lanka is in a very good position to attract talent, and we see, as Jehan said, also a lot of big players and also smaller players are looking at Sri Lanka as well to set up operations. So I think that the future is quite bright when it comes to the industry and the expansion of the industry, because we see that potential. And also at the same time, I think it's more opportunities also for startups and small startups as well, in coming up with new ideas and going out to the world right now, because that whole ecosystem has also developed, and we see more and more people becoming entrepreneurial and getting into the startup space as well. So that is also helping to grow the industry apart from the more traditional bigger companies. So I think combining these together, we are in a very good position if you look at going forward. So
Can he mute?
Ronil, you're on mute.
Ronnie, you're on.
I got muted as well. Yeah. So and also, if you look at it from an industry, also I think it's also now time as an industry to look at some of the new technologies and the new areas that we can go into. Also, I mentioned things like AI, and machine learning, data science. Jihan mentioned analytics and that whole side of it as well. So I think these are new opportunities as well that Sri Lanka can grasp and take on, because so that we move up in the value chain as well. So not only doing the traditional software development, but also moving up by getting into more high-end niche areas, because these can also put Sri Lanka on the spotlight. And if you look at it from a country perspective, bringing more revenue into the country as well as a country also. So we have that opportunity as well in the moving up in the value chain, and it's nice to see also that there are companies already doing that. So that is also an opportunity, when you look at the whole global stage where we can, come up and play a bigger role.
Thank you, Rani. Sandra, so now you as the chairperson of SLASCOM, as all four of us are part of SLASCOM, we all know what SLASCOM is doing, but I want you to tell our audience what SLASCOM, as the National Chamber of IT and BPM in the industry, what SLASCOM is doing for the betterment of the industry, like what, especially in terms of the creation of jobs as well, because like I got so many messages here, chat messages here, people asking, like they're asking very specific questions. For example, asking, what do I need to do, be a cloud engineer, what should I do, and all this. Like they are well aware of these opportunities as well. That's good to see that. So with this, where does SLASCOM fit in this whole structure, and what is SLASCOM doing for the betterment of the industry?
So Dilan, before I answer that question, I actually want to sort of echo the thoughts of Ranil and Jehan. This industry has been buzzing. This industry has been at the forefront, not just now, but even for as long as I can remember, because I know Jehan for a really long time. We've been working within the BPM industry for more than a decade. And it's always been, he hasn't been boring, although he says so traditionally he was a boring accountant. And of course, Ranil, and I think Ranil knew me in my very first job when I was like 22, 23 years old. And it was still a buzzing industry, right? So I think this industry has never had a dull moment. Those of us who got into the industry are there for life. And because its technology is going to keep going, it's the nicest, most interesting, the one with the most amount of opportunity in the last, I would say, 3 decades, but also into the future more and more now, right? So for those who are considering any kind of a job opportunity, I think there's no better or no other industry to be in other than in the IT BPM space. It gives you the opportunities to quickly grow, as Jehan mentioned, move up the, in your career progression. You become a world citizen, a global citizen, because you can work from anywhere in the world. You can work with any job if you have these skills that our industry provides. So if you look at, going back to the question on SLASCOM itself, SLASCOM does a multitude of initiatives to kind of make it better for the industry. As Jehan mentioned, our Vision 2025, we aspire to be a $5 billion US export industry. We are looking for 200,000 highly skilled professionals, and a lot of them hopefully are in this audience today that will come into our industry where there's plenty of jobs. If anything, we have opportunity and we don't have enough talent within the industry even right now, right? And apart from that, SLASCOM is really keen and working to grow and to be able to grow the startup space. So the 1,000 startups that we want to see in Sri Lanka in 2025, all of our initiatives and efforts is all focused around policy reforms. Jehan talked about a little bit, education reforms. Majority of our work is happening in this area. Then of course we look at what's good for the industry in terms of publishing industry specific statistics, data, reports, all of that to be able to make it available to those who are looking to invest in Sri Lanka, as well as those who are looking to grow within the industry. Then of course, we work alongside the government, and therefore we give in a lot of feedback and input to see how the industry can be favorable in terms of the budget as well. So there's a lot of work that currently goes on. Majority of the work we do, we work with very closely with 22 of our state and non-state universities that will help us to grow this capacity, which is the big piece we talked about a lot, because of the fact that we know that our industry is in shortage, right? Severe shortage. So jobs, internships, we have now, and if at all, the only problem we have is that we don't have enough of talent and capacity as much as we want. So with that in mind, SLASCOM actually has had many programs to kind of quickly upskill or reskill and get graduates, undergraduates, or even graduates that have done different streams which are non-IT related, to get them into our workplace. And for a while now, we've been also focused on, even looking at encouraging our kids. So our Tech Kids program, which we have started about 5 years back, really even looks at encouraging kids to look at coding. And then, of course, we cover the entire spectrum all the way from O-level, A-level throughout to graduates, undergraduates, and all of that through the very programs that we have. We have many programs. And now, of course, is the newest, is that we are launching all these programs, in a very much more structured fashion under the SLASCOM Academy. So if for those of you who want to find out more about all of this, you may be already familiar with Future Careers Bridge. I encourage you to go and look at futurecareersbridge.net, our website, to learn about the opportunities that are there. Then of course, SLASCOM is made up of initiatives that specifically look through, Jehan mentioned sustainability, right? So diversity and inclusion. Then we look at market access, and there we have programs that are around global trade and referral programs that support some of these activity. One of the newer things that we've started out is a SLASCOM Foundation that will look to supporting and helping by way of scholarships, by way of promoting and being able to support those who want to get into our industry. So the key theme is tech for good, and we're looking to see how we might support all of the initiatives that are worthy through our foundation. We have 4 accelerators, our centers of excellence, which are around artificial intelligence, AI, cybersecurity, product and platforms, which Ranil talked a lot about. And of course, Jehan talked about intelligent automation, which is also another cutting edge area that SLASCOM is involved in, and very passionate about making sure that we cover this wide spectrum, all encompassing proposition that we have, totally focused and geared to making sure that we are definitely making our way to that $5 billion industry. Tripling our workforce, as Jehan mentioned, the 200,000 people, and of course, our ingenuity, right? The 1,000 startups that can come up with, as you said, Dilan, creativity. So our ingenuity, our creativity, our talented people can actually set up companies that will grow and be global players and world-class players, right? So that's our focus. And we are very, very passionate about, as you know, Dilan, working with this audience, particularly that we have today. It would only be wonderful, just like Ranil, Jehan, myself, we've been in this industry for 20, 30 years, never left it. I don't think we're ever going to leave it either, because even today, it's as interesting or more interesting and exciting than it ever was, right? Ranil, correct?
Yes, definitely.
You agree, right, Ranil? There's no better buzzing industry than ours. So 30 years, and for the next foreseeable future, 30 years or more, this is the only industry that's going to give anyone all of these fantastic opportunities, right? And I also speak as a mom, a mother, because now I'm wearing my mother hat. I have, my daughter is around the same age as all these young people in the audience. And when I think about it, opportunities for young ones who are thinking of their future, even as a mother, right? I want, children, and all of us, we want our children to be able to succeed in life. We want them to be educated. We want them to get to a job quickly. We want them to do well in life. We want quick career progression for them. And we also want to give them that experience and opportunity to work across the world, right? To be able to go to any part of the world and be a global citizen. And then we think of it and say, oh, my child is successful. My child is successful in life. And that's my only joy as a parent, right? All of us as parents, that's all we want for our children. We want them to succeed in life. We want them to be good human beings. And we want them to contribute positively and add value for the country we work in, for the family, for the society and community. But I tell you that this is the absolute best industry to be in. And if any mom and any dad, any parent wants to think of a career for their children and encourage them, this industry is the one to be in. And I'm very passionate about it, which is really why all of us, Dilan, are volunteers at SLASCOM. And we work in this industry and work with SLASCOM because we want to see all this happening for our country, right? So it's absolute passion that holds us together, that brings us together to do this. Because we want to see all these young people succeed and Sri Lanka become prosperous. And the way to become prosperous is to join the IT BPM industry, right? So I have to say this, in my closing thought.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Jehan and Ryan, also sharing the positive side of this, because I'm like, all of you who have listened to these three panelists would have understood where we are, and definitely it's going to be a bright future for the IT and BPM industry. So what I have to say is, there's no need to leave the country. You can stay with us. You can stay in the country, and definitely the future would be bright if you come join this industry. So many opportunities are there. In fact, right now, I know my company and several other companies, we are looking for people and we don't have enough people. We don't have enough good people to offer jobs. So there's a huge demand as well. So definitely going forward, it will be more job opportunities would be coming up. So don't leave the country. Don't even think of leaving the country, because I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities with us here in Sri Lanka itself. So I'm not sure whether we have time for questions, but I would like to take a couple of questions, because there are several questions, but most of the questions are quite specific in a very specific job area. So I don't think we have enough time to, I'm like, for example, some people are asking like, to be a data scientist, what you need to learn. Likewise, there are very specific questions, but probably for those who do not get answers today during this session, what you can do is you can reach SLASCOM, then probably you can get more help through our experts. We have a corporate office staff as well as other experts who are volunteered working with Sluscom. So definitely they will help you on these areas. But all this time you were talking about university students and the opportunities for them in like more focused on that. But there's a question from someone who has been, I'll just say, I can't look at that question now, but he's asking, he's been a banker and now he's doing an IT degree and want to move into the industry. And he's asking, with the banking experience, what opportunities he would have in this industry. So it's, again, I see this as a good sign, because people are even considering moving from one industry to another, seeing the opportunities in this. So maybe Jehan, would you like to add anything to this, give some input for this sort of questions? Like, I'm like, this is like not a fresh graduate as such, but this person might be having certain years of experience in a different industry. But can they come into our industry? Would they have a opportunity in our industry? Jehan?
Yes, I believe so. In fact, on banking, there are specific processes now that are being outsourced. So there, in fact, we got a inquiry. Unfortunately, it has got a little bit slowed down, which is a banking operation that a client in Australia wanted to outsource to Sri Lanka. So they were specifically looking at people who had experience managing mortgages, loans, how to look at loan applications. And there are several companies, for instance, if you look at HDPL, which is one of our biggest companies, they are handling entire banking operations on an outsourced basis. It's serving clients around the world. So BPO is a very broad area. So it includes accounting, those are horizontals that go across industry, but it also has verticals, and banking and financial services industry and specific outsourcing around banking and financial services is one of the biggest areas. That has a lot of potential. I know the point that you are referring to. Generally, this industry has been seen as a young person's industry, and with a lot of people, young people coming in. And whilst that remains the large majority of that are there, if you are flexible, meaning if you can really work, like I said, multiple shifts, if you are having good soft skills and the ability to work with people, manage clients, there is definitely opportunity, because one of the things that the industry lacks is good team leaders. Right? So if you can really manage people and bring your people management skills, there are definitely opportunities in that space.
Thanks, Jehan.
If I may add there, Dylan, even in the software industry, I mean, if you have those opportunities, because especially if, for companies that are developing enterprise software, we are looking for people with the domain expertise. So it may be banking, it may be finance, it can be manufacturing, aviation, whatever different domains, because people who have that experience and the IT background, the software background, that definitely helps when we are building applications. So there are opportunities for people who are changing domains as well.
Yeah. And especially for job roles such as a business analyst, or maybe people who work with clients as account managers, such as there are opportunities. So another common question is, I know so many interns, like so many students are looking for internships. Someone has said he has applied for many organizations. We say that there are so many opportunities, but why he is not getting any internship at any place? Would anyone of you would like to give some tips for these students, how they can find a internship in one of our organizations? What do they need to do different? Because I related to another question, because someone has asked, do I need to have a LinkedIn profile to get a internship? So with all these combined, can one of you give some tips for these students on finding an internship?
I think Ranil might want to, because I know they have a lot of internships.
Yeah, so let me take that question. So I think there is no sort of one particular thing you can do, and I mean, having a LinkedIn profile, I don't think is something that's mandatory. It's good if you have it. That's one thing, but I think, as I mentioned before, to get an internship, what companies look at is, to have that basic, understanding of, if you take the software industry, the software engineering principles and concepts. You don't have to know a lot of complicated things, but you need to understand the basic principles of software engineering, of coding. Know that well, and be in a position to apply that, in the industry. So that is one very important thing. So because a lot of the time what we see is that there are a lot of students, I mean, where you have learned the theory and so on, but it might be the case that you are not really confident or able to apply that in a real world situation or in a practical situation. It doesn't have to be a very complicated thing, but so that ability to transform or apply the theory that you learned into practice in a practical problem is something that a lot of companies look at. So I think that basic skill is very important in obtaining an internship, because if you come for an internship at IFS, I mean, that is something that we look at. We are not looking at very, huge amount of experience in C# or Java or in one of these frameworks like Angular or whatever that we talked about before. It's the basic things. And then, of course, some level of communication skills is important, especially being able to articulate and express your ideas, whatever you have. So I think those are two important things that companies look at when, for internships. So not very in-depth knowledge in a lot of areas, but that basics you have to have right. So I think that is the important thing that I can say when it comes to internships.
Yeah, correct. I can echo on that, on what Rani said, because I'm like, we can't actually look for many things in an intern, right? They are just out of the university. So I'm like, basically, if you can just tell us even like a very simple question we would ask from an intern in an interview is like, explain what your final year project is. So if you can explain it in a nice way, right? If you can explain what are the technologies you have used or what are the challenges you had. So that communication plays a major role, because if you can't communicate well, and especially most of our companies, we work with our foreign parties. Maybe we have foreign office where our colleagues are from other, like different countries in different offices. Maybe you have to work with the clients. So the communication skill matters. So maybe that would be one reason some of the interns are not lucky enough to get an opportunity. So so probably the others who are still in the industry, still in the university studying, you need to pay a little bit more attention on the communication part as a soft skills. Basically, that's something which I have personally seen. Some people have failed in that, though you are really good in technology. Sometimes if you can't communicate yourself, then it's very difficult. Then we don't know who you are, right? You have to market yourself. That's the key part. So I think we have run out of time now. It's already 6:30. So I have open a quick poll to get your feedback. If you can go to our Slido link, which I have shared earlier, I will share it in the chat again. There's a quick poll for you to give your feedback about today's session. So thank you very much, Sandra, Ranil, and Jehan, for joining this session. I'm sorry we can't take all these questions. There are so many questions, but as I said, most are very specific questions. So hopefully we can help you at a different forum, all these concerns you have. So once again, Sandra, the chairperson of Sluscom and the group chief customer office of Dialog. Thank you very much, Sandra, for taking part in this session. And Ranil, executive vice president and chief operating officer of IFS, and he's also a past chairman of Sluscom. Thank you, Ranil. And Jehan, CEO of Informate and vice chairman of Sluscom. Thank you, Jehan. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your insights with the generation who is to join with us. And also, I would like to thank our sponsors, the strategic sponsor LSEG and the education partner SLIIT. Thank you very much for your help. And so what's next? So we have, as I said at the start, we have a series of webinars planned for you. If you go to this website, sluscom.lk/techwebinars, sluscom.lk/ www.lk/techwebinars, you will see all these sessions listed there. So we will open them one by one. You can see like the dates and the topics, everything is listed, but one by one we'll open them for your registration. So keep an eye on this web page, and when the registration is open, you can join these upcoming sessions. So once again, thank you everyone for joining this session, and hope to see you again in a few weeks time in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night and stay safe.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.